Hello, I'm Reagan, and welcome to my 13 horrifically silly days of Halloween series. It is now an annual series. This is the second year I'm doing this, and I have with me today actor Scott McCord to chat about all sorts of horror and horror comedy things, including a play slash novelette adaptation I did called Horror at Terra Creek that Scott helped me out with respect to some music, which we'll explain in a bit. But anyway, Scott, please introduce yourself to me and us.
Hi, Reagan. Well, you know who I am. We're very good friends. We go
Yes.
back, way back.
Yeah, we do.
I'm Scott McCord. I'm an actor. I'm based out of Brooklyn, New York. Now with my family. I'm Canadian. We've been living here about 5 years, and yeah, I'm sort of more focused on the acting thing here now in New York. So that's what I've been doing for the last little while. Haven't been playing that much music, which is, it's a huge part of my soul. We listen to a lot here in the house. You know, jazz is really big. Everything is really big here.
Yeah.
Nightly dance parties. But I haven't been playing or writing in a lot, which it's funny. I just wrote somebody here the other day, and I said, man, let's just Zoom each other and write a song, you know?
Cool.
Right?
Good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, we're here. We're doing that. I'm very excited to be reconnected with you. It was very exciting, actually, I should say, to actually pull out Terra Creek and crack it again and read it. And, refamiliarize myself with this genius little, I think it's even a fantasy piece. It's great. It's a horror, fantasy, musical, comedy, everything. That's what I kind of love about it. You really get everything in it. And I listened to the song again, too, and thought, man, yeah, what were we up to? What were we doing?
What were we on? Yeah.
What were we on?
Well, for me personally, I like to mash up genre, whatever, with comedy. Almost always there's comedy in there, good healthy dose. So much so that that Horror at Terra Creek and other plays, screenplays, and things that I've adapted into novelettes. Actually, here it is right there. Horror at Terra Creek managed to win an award last year, and the Royal Dragonfly Book Award. But anyway, the reason it won that award is because I smartened up, and rather than entering it into the horror categories of literary contests, I entered it into a comedy category.
Right.
And it finally won.
So, finally won.
Yeah.
Well, a much deserved win.
Yes, thank you. Yes, but it just there's plenty of horror and, as you say, fantasy in it, and in other stuff that I write. But it's really kind of about the comedy, actually, when we get right down to it, including the song that you wrote. So basically, I had approached you about at the time it was a play, and
that's right.
There is still a play version of Horror at Terra Creek. And basically, well, I'm just going to read the summary. Grad student Fanny Punn is studying in an antiquated town called Terra Creek. She hopes to unearth the reasons why all surrounding villages have failed over the centuries while Terra Creek thrives. At the Athame Inn in the center of town, that's how you pronounce it, I always forget how to Fanny meets a peculiar cast of characters. The innkeeper Lygia is also a satanic high priestess. Dr. Audley Salmon is the resident mad scientist, toiling in this mysterious lab in the basement. The inn's maid is mute, and the bellboy speaks like a poor man's Poe. It is here among the motley coven of curious eccentrics that Fanny stumbles onto a series of startling secrets, sealing not only her fate, but the fate of her friends forevermore. So I approached you with this because there is one musical number in the play. It's sort of included in the novelette as well. I had some lyrics written, and it was to be sung by a character called Christopher, who is basically a bastard. He's a terrible, terrible husband to his pregnant wife, Rosemary, and but he's backed up by a coven of witches in the story, and and therefore in the song. You took these lyrics and with a little editing, you came up with a gospel-inspired tune. Would you tell me about that process?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it was fun to go back, like I said, and listen to it again. And also line it up with the scene. You know, I reread the scene a few times, and just to see how, you know, how it all come together. I mean, here's the interesting thing, Reagan, is because, and it's so beautifully written. I was thinking, yeah, you know, because when I listen to the song, I can hear, I mean, it's just, you know, all my influences go in there. So, you know, there's gospel, I hear a little Elvis. I
Yes.
hear, oh God, I hear even like, even some of the piano chords off the top. There's something sort of early 80s fame about, about that musical side of it. Pop, you know, musical. Is your writing, and I'll start with this too, those lyrics for the song, I mean, it was quite dense. You actually had written a lot, you know, like, and that's not a criticism. That was actually a really beautiful challenge because, you know, I think that because it is, you know, there was obviously, you know, a lot that you wanted to tell in this piece that's about transformation. And I feel like what was beautiful about that was that your writing basically dictated the architecture of the song. Like, I think for what I found is that as soon as I read it, I could hear a slow beginning, of course, you know, in a very typical way that would lead to this gospel fervor or whatever you want to call it, you know? The other big giveaway too was that you kind of wrote it like that. I realized looking back at it again, as I'm like, you have this covenant, you have these witches come out in, I think, robes, and they're singing backup and singing your turn, you know, so it's, I thought there was something in there that might, whether it was, you know, it seemed like it had to go to church, I think, you know, because it was just begging to. And I think in an ironic way that this piece for Christopher is, the dark is like, you know, where you think of like the darkness going into the light, it's kind of like the not so great light going into the darkness, you know, or the dark going into the, you know, the deeper realm of darkness.
Right, because it's a gospel-esque tune, and you're saying like you had to take it to church. This is like he's joining a satanic coven, like so that's the. I love that those two elements playing off each other.
Elements playing off of each other. That it was, and this idea that he was having this awakening. You know, that there was this like the clouds had parted, and you know, the Holy Grail, you know, was falling on his head out of the sky and bonking him, and he's going, oh no, wait, you know, I can go from, and I'm going to quote you, I can go from dick to positively evil prick.
Which
so
is a weird goal,
you know,
but okay.
That's cool, right? So to him, that's like, you know, you're reaching it's the peak of the mountain. So you know, I had to write a song that basically by the time we got to that, it was, you know, we're at the peak of the mountain. Now, the only other thing I would say about it, and I was thinking about this over the last few days, was, you know, again, the challenge of having a lot of lyrics too, and I know that you did do some editing in that process, as I remember, but when we were throwing ideas back and forth too, when I listened to it, there's a lot of changes, you know, like even though you have sort of your chorus of your turn, it's your turn, Chris, with the backups, and that there's a bridge section that comes back out again, and even the very ending of the song, there's these certain chord changes that I guess I decided to make, that transformation was still happening right up until the very last note, you know? So obviously the way you structured it lyrically, I think that, you know, it just kind of begged for all that. I think it was a very busy song with a lot of gospel fever and excitement around it. That I was also picturing too, like it'd be great to have something in the midst of all this craziness in this world that would literally get the audience on their feet. Like if you're going to have one song, you're going to have one song in a play, right? In a piece of theater. Let's get them on their feet.
Exactly.
Let's even have them, if they're rooting for Christopher, great, you know?
Yeah, whatever.
Anyways, and that's, you know, so the only thing I can't remember now, because there's been some time, is whether, you know, what came to me first. You know, sometimes in a process of writing, it can be a whole new thing, right? You sit down and there's you know, one little idea that you noodle over for, you know, a number of days. And it could just be a section of the song, say. you know. What I found with this one is I know that that gospel chorus sort of revealed itself pretty early on, because I had all this great imagery and lyrics to work with, and I knew I wanted to go to church with it. But the beginning of the song and the verses were actually, you know, and this happens a lot too. The chords in the verses were fragments of ideas that I had literally been walking around with in my pockets for years.
Oh, wow. And
I tried to use them in various bands or write new songs for certain things, and I never found a place for them. And then all of a sudden it was that thing where, you know, this really was a combination of new ideas coming through and filtering through, and also going, hey, you know what? I've got that with this, you know, if I just put this in here for the bridge, how does this work as a bridge? Or how does this, and that's kind of how it came together, the old and the new.
That's really cool.
You know? Yeah, it was, I sort of realized that too, you know, went back and listened to it. I was like, oh yeah. Like that those verse chords particularly, I remember there's 3 of them that I used in succession. Or I guess it would be the pre-chorus. I don't know if it's the verse, it would be the pre-chorus chords. I think I walked around with those piano chords in my pocket for years. And it was just that thing. Every now and then I'd pull them out and I'd play them just for fun, and they never found their way into any other song or band or musical.
Yeah.
But they found it into your beautiful piece.
Oh, thank you.
Which was great.
I'm super glad they did. And like you were saying about having like it being a very dense, like I feel like it's quite over the top, but so is the play. It matches perfectly. And as you say, having that only one number in a play, you might as well like give it everything, right? And exactly. Not only that, I mean, I think it's very silly and funny to only have one musical number in an entire play, which was the point, or a possible point direction, but that I ended up deciding to definitely go with. And
let me, if I could just add to that too, I've left this out entirely, that because the play itself is so many things, the song therefore, you know, I mean, it could have gone either way. It could have been just something really simple. And, you know, to me, again, it just begged to be all those different things. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Cool. Yeah, no, it was just like extra. It was about the silly, pretty much. I mean, as far as just having the one single tune, and that, and it was always meant to be a horror comedy. Very clearly, I think, in the rest of the writing. And no, it was great getting that music from you. And then I just wondered, since you did have a chance to look over Horror at Terra Creek, any thoughts you wanted to share on it? You've already shared a number of parts, but particularly maybe on the character Christopher, who is
I did look it over. It was funny that, you know, I thought that you've got something really beautiful there with all the characters, but in terms of his journey, if I look at it from an actor, what's really funny and beautiful about it, and would be a great thing to tackle in a production, is the idea that while he kind of goes from bad to worse, what's really great is that his narcissism, his whatever you want to call it, that, you know, that's at his core. I love the fact that he here he was with this pregnant wife that he can't stand. He doesn't want this life at all. No. That he's this character that feels like entitled. He really feels like he deserves something better. And this is what it is. And that yet the irony, of course, or maybe it's not ironic because we never find out, it ends for him as a zombie engulfed in flames. Yeah. Right? Like, he gets what he wants, and he has that moment, and he gets to hold that, you know, that golden egg for, you know, at least a fraction of a hair of time, and go, this is it, this is my destiny, this is what, you know. But then, of course, you know, the bastard just gets it in the ass at the end, you know. He's like, I mean, or does he? I mean, maybe that is what he wanted in the end, you know. But he's a zombie engulfed in hellfire, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, that's how it is.
Yeah, makes him potentially even more evil, I guess, you know, so that is a progression if he looks at it one way, depending on how.
But it does lead to his destruction, I guess, you know.
Yes, exactly, which he probably wasn't.
Choices lead to his destruction.
Yeah.
So you have, But you have at the core of this character, you have something quite interesting. You know, this guy that's they would just be a joy to play. Can you imagine? You know. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on it. I thought, oh yeah, he'd be a fun bastard to play. For sure.
Yeah, actually, the play is full of bastards. Actually, there's like
it is.
There's very few awesome people in it, and even
is that a common thing in your plays? You read a lot of.
Well, when there's a B movie background or inspiration for them, it makes the characters either less likable not less likable, because you like them, but they're not good people.
Right.
And you like them because they're funny, or it can make them purposely more two-dimensional, less three-dimensional, therefore.
Sure.
Or they're just very, very, very silly, but they still could potentially be good people. So when there's a B-movie influence going on with my writing, in particular B-movie, cult movie, stuff like that, and then the comedy on top of it, there's those kind of three directions that it could possibly go in, including.
It's richer. It makes it richer. Yeah, I think it makes everybody a lot richer. Like, it's great. You know,
I personally like it. It makes it can be problematic with two-dimensional characters and stuff like that. Some people, you know, not investing as much in them, but you know, they're not there to be regular characters either. So that's anyway, that's the trade-off. So
yeah, that's great.
Anyway, yeah. Now now I'd like to turn to the sheet music, because I wanted to take this and not only have it available as something people could listen to on the Triple Take Productions website, which is also the publisher of Horror at Terra Creek and other things we've printed. I wanted to make sure there was a copy of it in the play, and then later I put it in the book as well, with the lyrics, and so people could potentially play it on the piano or whatever, you know, if they wanted to, or sing it.
It'd be nice, yeah.
But yeah. So, what was that process like?
I had to. I'm a musician, and I was, you know, I was trained classically and actually did theory, and could read music, but in terms of scoring. And actually writing it out, and there are programs, of course, that can do this for you, and have been for years, where you can just play it; it'll score it for you.
Yeah.
I felt a little overwhelmed, because you know, first of all, I didn't have easy access to any of those programs, but also, you know, there were a couple of reasons. I actually reached out to one of the guys in my band, the Bonafide Truth, that I had at that time. David Atkinson, who is a wonderful human being, a genius musician. He's got one of the best ears ever. Anyways, I was very happy to, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to throw him the work. He would love to do it. And he'll get it done so quickly, because, you know, he's so incredibly talented. And I knew he would also, you know, he might snag something along the way that, you know, if it's not working, or, you know, he might, anyway, I just knew he would do a nice once over on the piece, and deliver the goods, and deliver them in time. I thought if I took it on myself, I just wasn't sure. That would just be a bigger burden, I think. So yeah, I threw it to David, and you know what, I feel like I do have to plug him a little bit. I have my notes here. David Atkinson. So he's a pianist. He's a music teacher. Jazz, and he has his own bands as well. He can play anything. This is interesting. He's an award-winning musician. He's also a music director and a musical director. So this is something I don't even know that you knew. Yeah, he was the musical director, I think, or the associate musical director for Dear Evan Hansen when it came to Toronto. So that was him. Yeah, and he's also performed live with everyone from Elton John, Josh Groban, Boy George, David Byrne. He's got a really great track record, and he's still, you know, he's a young, beautiful guy and a father now. I thought I'd throw that out there, because that's very exciting, and I'm very, very proud of him for that. So yeah, and then he, you know, he basically, I don't know, he had it for a few days, and then he dropped it off. That was it. There it was. And I'll tell you, there's something really exciting about that, about getting, because again, like I said, I just didn't have the ability to do it, but then to pick up this sheet music, I'm sure for you too, and to see it, it's probably like getting your book published, right? You get your book published and you see the cover. One thing I wanted to, this is a bit of I'm going to sidetrack us for a second. I wanted to point out, when I opened up Terra Creek again, I pulled it off the shelf and I sat down the other morning, my coffee, and I thought, I'm going to read it and look at the cover. The picture of that character on the cover looks like your husband.
Yeah.
Was that intentional?
Yeah, I sketched a picture of Kevin, and because
I never noticed that before.
I imagine him as Dr. Audley Salmon. That's if he were to play a role in the play, or a movie version of it, that would be his role. But I also added some elements from Vincent Price posters. So it's not exactly Kevin. It's Kevin if he had a little Vincent Price thrown in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good for you. What a loving wife you are. That's
I'm sure he appreciates it. It's a little weird. He's on a couple of covers, like Space Zombies, the book and the DVD, and he was helping me out at Word on the Street, I believe, at a festival, and somebody was looking at buying a copy of Space Zombies, I think, and they're looking at the cover. And then they're looking at him, and they're looking at the cover, and is this you? So that was a weird moment for him, anyway. So because he didn't. Well, actually, he did co-write Space Zombies, but if people do that with Horror at Terra Creek, he didn't actually co-write that one. So, and he hasn't even actually been in it yet, per se, beyond like a reading, a private reading of the play. So it would be odd, anyway. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm sure Kevin.
Well, I had, we have a mutual friend, Priya.
Yes.
And she was dating a guy who was a model for romance novels.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And I think she had a great story about being in a bookstore.
Oh, that would be so.
And seeing him on the cover, and of course they also and he was, he was cut. He was I think somebody recognizing him from the book or something like that, or being able to walk into a bookstore and do that, Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
If we could all be on the cover of a book. Anyway, please say hi to Kevin. I miss him greatly.
Will do. Yeah. He squirreled away, like working at CBC, which is now our bedroom.
Immortality. Salt circles. Candles. Cutting kids. This is what I've been waiting for my entire life. When I was a boy in school, I'd bully all the kids on the grounds. Oppressing my wife makes me feel pretty cool now that I'm a full-grown man. But I've seen something new, telling me there's more to life. Something more evil than chauvinism, more satisfying than a sad and defeated wife. Gotta let it all hang out. I'm not some nobody dick. Gotta be who I am, a positively evil prick. My turn. My turn. My turn. Your turn. My turn. Christopher. It's my turn. Turn to the dark side. My soul cries out, and Terra Creek answers. But how does an ordinary man like me, how does a simple city boy enroll to enter a magical life extraordinary? Sing it! Extraordinary. Yeah. Well, these witches drink from an exclusive cup. Where does a man like me sign up? Tell me! I know it's my turn. Your turn. My turn. Christopher. My turn to turn to the dark side. My turn. My turn, Christopher. My turn, turn to the dark side. Haven't we all wanted to create some gore, to rule the world and all God's creatures, to burn the flesh of blood porn, all in the name of my everlasting life.